Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborne. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us so we can learn as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method about 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. Find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborne, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Nigel Armitt. He is the owner of First Success Coach, providing executive coaching to CEOs, entrepreneurs, driving peak performance, strategic clarity, and high velocity execution. So, Nigel, welcome to the show. And I want to start off by asking you the first question I always love to ask, which is this: if you were somehow able to go back to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
I think the number one advice would always be, and my background obviously is in finance, but it would be very much to monitor your cash flow. Cash is king, as they say. I know people hear that saying very often, but to me it is, and it's the reason why so many startups fail. Often they don't survive 2 years. They can fail within the first, 12 months or less. That is so key to me. Manage your cash flow. Make sure that you're always running with a positive cash flow. You'll then survive. You can then build a business and you can grow from there and have a sustainable business.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Nigel. And I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into that because I think everyone theoretically knows that, right? Like you obviously have to be profitable or, you won't be able to survive. What are some tips that you've learned along the way, not only as you started your business, but as you've grown and where you are now? How are some best principles to manage cash flow? Because that's not only a startup issue. As you expand and grow, you might be investing in things and might have cash flow, or maybe you've hired on and you've become a little bit too top heavy in terms of your expenditures. What are some things that you can do to manage cash flow from a actual practical standpoint?
I would say you need to have a forecast. I mean, that to me goes without saying. And you don't need to be a spreadsheet whiz. You don't need to be a financial expert. Start it off simple. Keep it very simple, I would say. Just put it down on an Excel spreadsheet. Most people can use Excel and regularly update it and have something as a minimum that goes out 12 months, better still 2 years. Obviously, just like any forecast, as you go out after 12 months, it's a little bit more finger in the air, but
Yeah.
it gives you that more, you feel more in control. And it's a KPI. It's something to have on your dashboard, as they say, to use the management speak. It's something that you should always be looking at. You should be monitoring it. You should update it. And it will change. It's not fixed in stone. Because,
Mm,
as your sales pipeline changes, as more business is coming in, then obviously you'll see then that your forecasts are showing a better inflow of cash.
mm,
Same goes on the other side of the table, which is your expenditure. Keep your expenditure lean. Um, only bring people in when you need to bring people in. Don't overpay. There's different ways, as you probably know, of recruiting people. You could bring somebody in who initially might be very part-time. They might be an equity base, and therefore you're giving them an equity reward and you're not having to pay them as much as an ongoing day rate, should we say, or salary. Again, that'll keep your costs down. I think the one area I would say that many businesses, and it's very easy to lose sight of it and control, is to spend and spend on marketing. That's an area where you do need to keep close eye on that area and you need to keep hold of the reins. And again, you don't have to pay a lot of money for marketing. You can do a lot of marketing yourself with AI, the advent of AI now. There's so much that's available to the individual to
mm,
do their own marketing. Or you can go onto other sites where you can, you know, use somebody part-time or use somebody at a lower cost. It might be something like Fiverr. could be one of the other sites that you can go onto, and you just don't then have to pay so much money out of your budget to get the marketing spend and
Mm.
to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, yeah, some great tips there for sure, Nigel. Um, on top of cash flow, because obviously I told you your cash is king, you got to have that. One of the questions I love to ask is this: what's the number one biggest challenge that you faced in your business career so far, and what's the lesson that you learned from that?
I would say the number one challenge is prioritizing. And that's true in any business, whether you're a new startup, whether you're a large corporate. And I always have gone into a business and worked in different businesses, and I've worked in over 30 different businesses, both across the Middle East, in Europe, and in the UK. And I found in every one of those situations, prioritizing my day and deciding what I need to do in the day is the key driver to what I achieve and what the outcomes are. And the way I do that is to list my top 5 tasks for the day. I circle the one of those tasks that directly impacts my main outcome for the day. And
Mm,
that really sets the scene. And I do that first. I focus on that one task before I do any meetings, before I'm available. I mean, that's the other part, of course, is that especially when you're growing a business, you're often always available and you don't want to say no to anybody.
mm,
So if you like, you're a 24/7 worker, you might say yes to so many people because that's your style and you don't like saying no to people. Unfortunately, the reality is you have to learn to say no at times and you have to manage your diary. And
mm.
especially if you don't have a secretary or don't have a PA or using a remote person to manage your diary, you have got to manage that diary very carefully. And I would say that's the key um, point, I would say, in answer to your question.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's something that I've lived by for years now, and it. I always tell people if you actually do what you've just said, Nigel, it's life changing. Which sounds like a really grandiose statement because everyone's talking about, oh, change your life, change your life. But it literally is. It's one of the most simplest, unassuming things that you can do. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that significant, but when you actually implement it and you do it, it is life changing. It's phenomenal.
It is, and I would say that it also is easier said than done because
Yes.
you can have the will and you have it in your mind that that's what you're going to do, and you set off to do that at the beginning of the day, and then of course a curveball, something happens at 10 o'clock. There's that urgent phone call, that urgent email, and it's how do you react to that? What do you
Mm,
do? Do you then jump on that? Does that become the priority? Does that become the task that you do need to then deliver first? And that's a decision you have to make as a leader. And you have to
mm,
make the right decision. And it could be that that is more urgent than what your task was that you decided at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. But pause, sit back, make a very, informed decision and decide then what is that decision and go with it and don't regret it. And we all know that when you make decisions, you can be very, very clever and you can be very, very knowledgeable, but there's always a 50-50 chance that you could have made the wrong decision. But you have to accept that in life and realize it's better to make a decision than procrastinate and sit there worrying and thinking, I'm not sure what to do. That's
mm.
worse. Make a decision and go with it.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, so much uh, just wisdom in what you've said there as well. And I think the key balance, and would love to hear your thoughts on this, is making sure that you're not making an excuse that something's more urgent just because you don't want to do the thing that you know you need to do. Because I see a lot of people do that as well. And I know if I've had the challenge as well. It's like, oh, this other thing, I need to do it this morning when really I need to go, no, I'm just actually delaying the thing that I need to do, which is the bigger priority. in what I needed to do in the business as well.
That's very true. And I think you play it in your mind. And therefore, if, should we say, if you're delivering something or doing something that perhaps you don't quite enjoy, or you don't have the job satisfaction, should we say, from that, then to your point, it's very easy to be distracted if something else comes in and say, well, actually, I'd rather do that. So why don't I do that? And I'll just pause and put this on the back burner and put this to one side.
Mm,
That might be making the wrong decision. And you're making a decision because it's what your mind, your brain is telling you that this is going to be easier for me, and I'm going to have
mm,
an easier ride, and it'll put a smile on my face, and I'll enjoy doing it. Whereas perhaps doing task A, which was more difficult and demanding, but did need to be done today, is then delayed. And then you have
mm,
to think, well, what are the consequences of that? Can it
yeah.
wait? Can it wait till tomorrow? And if it can, then of course the inference from that is, well, actually, it wasn't that important anyway. So why did he decide that was the task that I had to deliver today?
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is yeah, it's just all learning, isn't it? As you said, you just have to make that decision as a leader, make the and yeah, you could be wrong with it, but at least you make a decision and moving forward, which is really powerful. Well, if you look over the next, let's say 2 to 3 years of your business, Nigel, what would you like to achieve? What are you looking to do in the business?
I would say obviously want to grow it. I don't want to grow it to be a huge successful time because I work very much now as a sort of part-time business, and I am juggling with other businesses, helping other businesses as well, another business I'm involved in. So there is a limited amount of time. But what I want to achieve, to answer your question, is to have actually delivered, really good coaching to execs or to CEOs, and seen the fruits of my rewards, if you like, to seen the change, the difference it's made to those individuals,
Mm,
seeing how they have an easier life, how they're able to deliver the business in the right ways. Also, that I have a good connection with those individual clients, that they trust me. I'm somebody that they can come to and talk to confidentially. That to
yeah,
me is key. A good coach should be somebody that the client can talk to confidentially and knows that what they say to them is not going to go outside those four walls.
yeah,
Um, I would say that's the main part about it. And if I achieve that, that will give me the job satisfaction, and that will make me feel as if, you made a difference, you made a difference. And that's something I've always done in my life, wherever
mm,
I've been. I've never wanted to be involved in a business or with a client that I've not been able to make a difference. I've always said when I'm talking to the CEO, may I say, that if the time comes when you feel I'm not making a difference and I'm not adding value, then just tell me. And at that
mm,
point, let's just agree, and we'll part ways, and I'll move on to the next client. I
yeah,
don't want to overstay my welcome, shall we say?
yeah,
That's the important point to me.
yeah, yeah, definitely. No, that I think it's really powerful. Well, Nigel, for people that are looking to learn more about what you do and get in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say the first protocol would be to look at LinkedIn to get to learn more about me as an individual, see my background. They can see on there, there's already some videos on there where recently I was recorded for a article in Global Man magazine. That was very enjoyable. That was only published about 2 weeks ago. That gives a good overall view of me as an individual. I think it's very balanced. And then following on from that, from LinkedIn, I do have my contact details, my email address. So it's very easy to reach out, contact me through LinkedIn or through my email address, and let's have a conversation and take it from there and see whether, there's a synergy, whether there's something that we could work together on something moving forward. Uh, I'm always open to, for a discussion and to help people. I mean, I
Yeah,
help people all the time. I do a lot of mentoring, coaching as well, something I do. I coach people for jobs. I coach people in the career. That's something I'm passionate about as well, but that's a sort of a sideline. But yeah, it gives me a lot of satisfaction helping people and connecting.
That's amazing. Well, I definitely recommend everyone check out Nigel on the places that he just mentioned there. Nigel, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great to just hear your perspective and the the wisdom that you brought to the questions that I asked today. So thank you so much for that. And as a reminder for everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborne, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But until next episode, stay inspired.